Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We continue conversations this morning in studio, and we speak with Miss Keifa DesVignes. She is the founder of Divine Solace Funeral Home. This is our Woman in Business segment. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and thanks for having me, and also good morning to the online viewership.
Of course, a pleasure having you in studio, and it really is, it brings me good pleasure to have conversations in this segment as we talk to women in business, talking about, the startup of your business and stuff like that. So we're going to go through the conversation this morning, and a very unique business indeed. You are the founder of. When we talk about, well, first of all, I want you to tell your story, because some people might be asking, do I really want to get into that type of business? So I want you to tell us a little bit about your business and what was the thing that made you decide, you know what, I think I could fill a gap in the market where this is concerned.
All right, so firstly, I must say my mom, Adanna DesVignes MT, she's not here, but she is also the other partner in the business, so it's actually me and her. I could remember as far as high school, she always sort of pushed me, Keifa, let's do something. What can we, build a family name, build a legacy by doing? And I said, Mom, let's open a funeral home. And she was like, the usual taboo, as expected. And she was, I would say, against it. So fast forward in 2020 or 2021 or so, I'm not sure, sometimes when things just align so perfectly that it sort of propels you in a direction. We would have started by caskets. So we had some caskets for sale and so on, imported, very luxurious and everything. But those caskets did not sell. So we were, okay, we have X amount of caskets in hand. What do we do? They cannot spoil. So having that drive and that motivation, and me and my mom sort of has the same sort of ambition. We said, listen, this might be the time. We may have to go full in. Now, to see that someone like my mom, who was totally against it, she loves it. She loves it for today. And I say, Mom, look at that, eh? The same person who was against the idea. But everything that sort of aligned. At one point in time, I met someone on the boat going to Trinidad who owned a funeral home in Trinidad, and we started to converse and so on. And he said, I'll start a funeral home. I'll come and guide you. Because those caskets, I saw your email, because I emailed all the funeral homes throughout Trinidad and Tobago, advertising these caskets, and almost none replied. Probably one person replied, right? So he said, I saw your email, and those caskets, they wouldn't sell. We have so much caskets companies in Trinidad. He said, go into a funeral home, I'll come and I'll guide you all. And we had an area, we had a storage from before with a previous business that my mom's husband wanted to get into. So everything that sort of aligned so perfectly, and there it was. And from the time we started, when we saw the comfort that we bring to families, there was no turning back. It's really fulfilling to know that you can help somebody at their lowest point in life, yeah?
But we're talking, I want to go back a little bit, because you said initially you had the idea and your mom was like, and then fast forward to 2021. The very first time the idea came to you, what inspired it? What was the thing you saw or felt or didn't see that you thought you could bring to this space that said, you know what, I think a funeral home is a good idea?
All right. So my grandfather would have passed, I think it was in 2003. And my mom would have given the funeral home specific instructions in terms of how to groom him. And they would have sort of done their own thing. And up to this day, she always speaks about that. They removed his mustache, and she took it so personally. So we saw, one, the overpricing of funerals in the Tobago space. Two, the lack of professionalism. And three, the lack of professionalism as it pertains to low-budget funerals. So you usually see that high standard when persons spend a sizable amount of funds, but for those families who cannot afford something extravagant, they usually get, I would say, below par standard. So we saw that gap and we were like, okay, we can fix that. So with us, whether you spend or whether you take the smallest package or the lowest package, or you spend a little bit more, barely anybody would be able to tell the difference, because our presentation, professionalism, standard, everything remains the same. So we saw that gap there.
So it's a personal experience that, of course, opened her heart. And you're talking about your mom now loving. And now I understand why she loves doing what she does because it brings that level of comfort. Because I think it to be a little traumatic, the experience that you had, that you mentioned, in terms of removing a loved one's, a statement
Signature.
part of his body,
Yes, his signature.
So, I'm seeing the love and the care that you put into it. Tell me about some of the experiences you've had with some of your clients as they came, for you to assist them in ensuring that their loved one has a good send-off.
All right, well, for one, our culture is not one where persons prepare adequately for death by way of whether it be of insurance or savings or so on. So my major focus or area where I help persons would be in terms of finances. Sometimes you have to understand in business that not everybody would have the funding, or not everybody would have it disposable. So my experience is just basically helping persons along the way. Sometimes someone cannot meet the full extent of the bill, and I would say, okay, you know what? I understand what you're going through. I understand that your loved one probably didn't put anything in place, and you are also struggling financially. So we sort of do charity funerals at times, right? When you understand, not free, but funerals where persons cannot foot the entire bill. So that's some of my experiences. Also, a lot of young persons, are dying, unfortunately. So dealing with those families are a lot different than dealing with families of older persons. Yeah, so it also requires a lot of heart on my behalf to really reach out to them and to ensure that I always tell persons, sometimes they come in crying and I say, I bet you on your last day at this office, you'll be smiling. You tell me better. And it always is so. So they really, really appreciate the empathy. Yeah, and because for me, in the past few years, I have not had to deal with a death in the family. Thank God for that. So I could imagine what some of these persons are going through. So that's basically what I do. Sometimes I follow up with them. Sometimes we give book vouchers, like for back to school, we did vouchers for bookstore to assist persons whose mom or dad would have passed. We do food vouchers around Christmas time or throughout the year. Sometimes some families reach out to us, they say, Miss DesVignes, I need a little assistance, XYZ, and we would help them because we know what they were going through at the point of the funeral. And if at that stage things were already tough, it may not have gotten better in that short space of time. So we try to help in every regard that we can, during, after the funeral as well.
And you're talking about providing that measure of emotional support as well, because when people think of funerals and they're going to a funeral home, it's basically for business. To get the transaction done, we need to get this, we need to get this. How much does it cost? Okay, cool. Sign the contract. This is what you do. But now you're talking about forming relationships with people, talking to people who are hurt and broken. Some people might not have had closure. How do you find the strength, the endurance, the empathy, whatever it is you need, in terms of providing that measure of support for them? Because I'm not sure if you have any type of training in that area, or is it just all hearts?
I'll say mainly, my customer service, I would say, from persons' reviews on par, because I worked in the bank for a few years. So I have that customer service, but then customer service isn't all it takes to really bring that emotional support to families during that time. So I must say a lot of heart goes into it, because I really empathize with some persons. I must say it's a business, but it's not all about the money for us. Yeah? And my mom taught us some young Keifa, no matter how small, always give. Always give. If you're in a position to help someone, help them. So transcending to my older years or my adult life, when persons come in, it's just natural. It's natural to help, it's natural to give, it's natural to empathize. So it's a lot of heart, more than business. Sign here and the transaction is over. Yeah? And persons remember you for that. Persons really remember, because a lot of our business comes from referrals from families.
Right. And talking about referrals from families and people remember that, what are some of the things you want people to remember about their experience with you? And you mentioned earlier, I'm sure when you leave you're going to be smiling. So what are some of the things you're hoping that people can walk away with when they have to put their loved ones to rest?
One walk away with, I am grieving, but when I saw my loved one, I could no longer grieve, which is quoted by customers or clients, I should say. Yeah, two, that they were experiencing such a tough time, and this one individual from a business, not even a family member or a friend, because you expect that level of support from your friends or the persons around you. This one person at the funeral home of all places kept on checking in with me, ensuring that I was okay. When I come to the office, she would ensure that, yes, you're going through this emotional stage in your life, but I really care and I will continue checking in with you. So in some cases, we would have also referred some clients to grief counseling, where they can get that extra support if they need to. So that's something that we also offer. It's a paid service, but sometimes where we see the need, we would ask persons if they are open to the idea, and we would refer them, and the funeral home would foot the bill. Yeah.
This is absolutely amazing. And let's talk to another woman who wants to get into business, who has an idea that might be outrageous or might be very, very simple, but is thinking, I'm not sure I have what it takes to get it done. So encourage that person now to get into that business and to make the type of impact that you clearly are making in your business.
All right, what I must say is that if it is your heart is not in it, it's not a business that you should go into, right? Ensure that you really love it and it's not all about what the finances would look at the end of the day. The other thing is funerals were taboo, really, really taboo in the Tobago space. So sort of ignore the negativity, because it would come. When we would have started, we had so much complaints against the funeral home and a lot of made-up stories and so on. So the taboo, well, we sort of breaking the taboo, I must say. We sort of broke that taboo and continue to break the taboo, where persons feel a lot more comfortable walking into a funeral home or touching a casket and that kind of thing. So one, ensure that your heart is in it. And two, you need to block out the noise. There will be a lot of noise surrounding this industry, and once you block it out, you should be fine.
Very well said. And of course, I continue to wish you the very best in your business as you continue to grow and make the impact. Bringing peace and comfort to people in that very, very volatile time of their life.
It's priceless.
It really is priceless. So thank you so much for the service you provide.
Thank
you.
I
wish you the absolute best. Ladies and gentlemen, we speak with Miss Keifa DesVignes, founder of Divine Solace Funeral Home, giving loved ones that peace of mind when they send someone home to rest. This is where we have to end the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, but it's not where we end our program, and we head on over to GMT, which is Good Morning Tobago. So do stay with us, and as you do, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live.